Hello everyone, Christina here, and I am back for these weekly readings and I'm really excited. I do want to acknowledge that I've been kind of off the grid for a little bit, and that was definitely sort of cosmically organized by my own guides. Basically, part of it is that my gifts have been sort of recruited into use in different ways for the last couple months. But also, I really needed to sort of realign myself with how I want to approach this subject matter. So the first part you've already noticed is the way I'm naming it at the bottom, and I'm going to put a little bit more discussion as far as that goes into a different video so that we can kind of get underway with the reading. The other thing you'll notice, especially once we get underway, is that I have kind of reorganized and restructured the way the readings go. The other thing I want to talk about before I get into the reading itself is new ways for us to connect. So I'm still offering the pre-recorded readings just the same as usual, and when we get to the third section, which is sort of the traditional, or not traditional, but the way I've been doing the twin flame readings, that structure, you can pre-order that, or you can order that and I can do recordings for you so that you can have it to listen to a number of times and revisit it as things sort of continue to develop in your situation. The other thing that, or the other way that I'm offering to connect is that I am now doing live one-on-one sessions, so phone readings basically. But I'm not calling them readings mostly because they are, yes, we can do a reading, but we can also just kind of talk through some of the things that are on your mind, okay? So if if you've got something that you just want cards with so that you can jump in and ask me questions in the middle, that works great. But also, if you just really have a conundrum and you want to work through it with somebody else who also is intuitive and connect with your guides and maybe hear your guides a little bit more clearly, that's a way for us to do that. Some of the things that we can do are like dream interpretation and kind of one-on-one coaching on any subject matter. Basically what you're getting is my time, okay? And how we use that time is up to you. So I'm excited about that. That requires scheduling, so that's why it's on a different link down there. My website is still down. I'm still kind of doing some tweaking and revising before I want to republish that. So that'll be kind of a little bit more down the line, but in the meantime, we do still have ways to connect and kind of get that insight that you might be seeking. Okay, now to the reading itself. I have now, this might end up being a little bit longer, not just because of the announcements at the beginning, but also the way I'm approaching the readings itself. So now I'm doing 3 sections. The first section is about self-love and self-care. And the reason I want to start here and devote a whole section of the reading to it is because as I've been exposed to other twin flame readers and all of this sort of thing and the entire discourse, everybody always talks about, myself included, how important self-care and self-love and valuing yourself and all of that is to this whole process. But it doesn't really go much further than that. So I'm using the whole first section of the reading to talk about, to pull cards for guidance for self-care and valuing yourself for the week. Okay. The second section of the reading will be devoted to how to be love then in the world, and that means, with the person at the cash register at the store. It means with your coworkers, family, friends. It's how you take that love for yourself and then, kind of enact it and be it in the world with your casual interactions with other people. Your interactions with other people that fit into casual, your various kinds of significant others, like I said, friends, family, the way that kind of moves closer in terms of intimacy. And then we'll end the session with, or we'll end the whole video with the third section, which is, the energy updates for these specific love partners that you have in mind. And the reason I want to do this is because so often I have been, in the time that I've been doing this, but also just in my, excuse me, you'll have to forgive me, I'm kind of fighting off a cold. Sorry, so I obviously ended up having a coughing fit. Anyway, what I've been noticing is that, people will talk about how much they want this love partner, how they are doing everything they can to raise their vibration and be a spiritual being and do all of this stuff. In the meantime, I also observe them being kind of assholes to the people around them because they're not the love partner. Ooh, more coughing. Okay, so they'll be kind of crappy to the sort of the in-between people because they're not the love partner. It's not the object of their desire. And so somehow they are managing to sort of lose the connection between, this person comes into your life to help you evolve, to help you, raise your vibration, to help you ascend and be a more, I want to say, like, conducive vessel for the kind of source, higher consciousness, universal love energy that is trying to be more present on the planet, right? And so they sort of forget that that's the purpose of, these kind of tough relationships to come into their lives. And so they're only going to be really good to that person. And then it's like, well, and it's kind of screw the rest of you, right? And so that's why we're going to do the first 2 sections being about caring for the self first, then being able to, enact that and practice that with casual others in the world. And then after you've really spent time going, okay, reflecting on how do I do this in the world, then looking at, okay, so now that I'm in that mindset, where does this leave us sort of energetically, the energy update for your partnerships? Okay, makes sense? All right. And then we'll close with a kind of the portable wisdom card at the end. All right, so given all that, let's start with the self-love and self-care section. I've got 3 cards and they come from the, this is the Mandala Affirmations deck by Rosella Creations. I picked this up while I was in London this last time. These 3 cards are really cool and so timely considering kind of that I'm hitting a reset button. And so the first card is mission statement, right? Doesn't this make sense? So if we're hitting a reset button about how do we orient ourselves, how do we care for ourselves, we have to kind of get in touch with, well, what is it that you stand for? And what's so interesting about this is that I also know that there are a lot of you out there, the clients who've managed to click through all the way through and find me anyway, because I wasn't not doing readings. I just had to kind of turn off the flow a little bit. A lot of people have been in this place about what am I supposed to be doing here? Like I know that I'm supposed to be offering something in the world, but whatever it is I'm doing right now doesn't seem to be quite it, but I don't know what to do instead. So part of this is, setting the intention to articulate it to yourself. What is it that I do? What is it? What am I offering to the world? The other is, if you're not sure, is to ask your guides, ask the universe to help you with this, to reveal it to you, to give you the breadcrumbs that you need to kind of follow so that you can discover what it is that you are really meant to be doing with your energy. I love that this is coming out right now. And to the extent that we all are, when you find me, it's because we're kind of in a similar vibration with each other. It's funny because I'm definitely just in this space right now, like kind of revising my mission statement, both personally and with my business. So happy little resonances there. The second card is praise. This one is such a difficult one for people to do. So often people will get stuck with the negative self-talk. And so this card for this week is telling us, you know what, give yourself some credit for how far you've come. The paths that people have been on for a while have been tough, and give yourself credit for, seeing how far you've come, maybe even since just the last time we've been engaging with each other through these videos. see how far you've come in the last year. See how far you've come since the beginning of this year. And give yourself credit for the progress you've made. Yes, you're probably going to, notice oh gosh, I'm still kind of in the same place I was last year with this. Okay, so you're still working through that. Set that as a goal, but don't, it's like resist the temptation to start getting down on yourself. Like, gosh, I'm still so stuck. It's like, no, look, these are the things that I have actually made progress on in the last couple months. And really, seriously, give yourself credit for the work that you've been doing. It's really important to do that rather than only seeing the lack, the how far you have to go, the ways that you aren't where you want to be, etc. Okay, last card for the self-care is music. I love this. This is so there's also this conch shell in the image, and so there's two things going on here. So first of all, the first message I want to give you is create music, because that's what you do. You have that. Give it a shot if you've always wanted to learn a musical instrument. But really, sit down with some of your favorite playlists. Maybe even take the mission statement assignment and create kind of your personal mission statement playlist. Who are you? Who do you want to be in the world? And make that your playlist, and make that the thing that kind of creates the soundtrack of your life for the time being, kind of this chapter that you are in right now. The other piece of this is, when we listen to shells, it's so we can hear the ocean, but it's also like when I look at this, and as I'm tuning into this card, what I feel is that it's like that summertime music too. It's like when you think about summer, it's like when we're the most carefree, when we're kind of feeling the most alive and vibrant and all that stuff. And, maybe make another play, like, to the extent that these are separate, that there's not overlap. Or actually, I think what they're saying more is like, no, incorporate this feeling into your personal mission statement. There it is. Okay, so it's not that these two things are separate. It's not like the carefree music that you have in the summertime is not separate from who you are the rest of the year. It's that when you are on mission, when you are on purpose, it feels this way. Okay, and so create, have that in mind as you're writing this part. Have this in mind as you are creating those playlists, and then also that ocean piece is, go back to those, ourselves as emotional beings. And actually, they don't really want me to go too much into that, because we talk about that a lot, and it might come up a little bit later. So for now, for the time being, they're just saying, kind of the happy, look, I like this one too, the little happy notes with the love notes, and that happy, carefree feeling, because that is ultimately what also helps you stay in alignment with your soul purpose for this incarnation. Okay. All right. Now, moving on to how do we enact this in the world? I've got 3 cards, and these cards come from the Devas of Creation deck, and this is by Cilla Conway. Another deck I picked up in London this last time. And again, these are such exciting cards. So how do we be this in the world? How do we go be in the world? Oh, be this warm, happy sunlight. It's like, you know what? Tap into your solar plexus, tap into sun energy. Again, it's even kind of the summer energy from this card. I love this deck because there's no words. You actually do have to kind of come to the book if you want the intended meaning, but I love the imagery. So this is card number 13, and it is the Deva of Abundance. What a perfect thing about being in the world. And this, again, is echoing that praise card from the self-love. So when we are in the world, being love in the world means to look at and praise what we see as being good, what we see as being affirming in the world. Because again, a real low vibrational habit of mind is to focus on lack, focus on what's wrong. Why isn't this going the way I need it to be? And then getting really angry about that. And the thing is, yeah, there is some stuff that we require anger to get fired up in order to take action, which in order to take some action. And sorry, again with the coughing. And what we will often do is we'll get so hung up on how whatever the circumstances aren't meeting all of our needs, and we'll go, oh, this is so terrible, and stay in this is so terrible, rather than going, okay, this is not meeting my needs, and then shifting the focus to how do I get those needs met? Working into the strategies and the action behaviors, like, okay, this is not meeting my needs, and this situation does not seem to be yielding what will meet that need. So how can I meet that need on my own without depending on kind of my preconceived notion about how I would prefer to get this need met? Okay. So with this abundance card, being this in the world is to say, okay, well, even if I don't have my needs met, I have all the gifts and resources that I need available to me to find a way to meet this need in another fashion. Okay. It's also to recognize, wow, even if this one thing is not the way I would like it to be, and it could have very intense consequences. I mean, look, I'm American, and the current political situation in the United States, for as chaotic as it is, which actually is going to be our last card, for as chaotic as it is, there is an order to it. So what I have to do in order to be able to remain engaged is not to go, well, I'm just going to be really positive and not pay attention to this. It's like, geez, this is not the way this is supposed to be going. But I have resources available to me to counter what I see as being really chaotic energy. Okay. So that's the first one. I love that the second card is the Deva of the Moon. And this is actually doing some shadow work. So being love in the world, how we enact this in the world is also to give others the space to be inward, to be inner. Okay, we don't have to always be asking and prying and probing for what's going on with that person. In a lot of ways, our job is to kind of be a little bit of a lighthouse, shine our light, be warm, be kind of tending our own fire so that we're not sort of losing hope in the face of what can be kind of trying circumstances, and at the same time understanding that other people might just need to be able to sit and be quiet and experience sort of the warmth of our campfire, to completely mix metaphors now. Okay, so part of it is, like I said, like acknowledging when you have needed this sort of internal dark night of the soul kind of work to be done, and allowing others the space to do it while you take up the work of being the warmth while they're in this place. Okay, again, this can all happen silently, or just your presence with this kind of intention actually helps this get accomplished. What I also like, here we have, it's like the sun and moon. So I like that these two are showing up together. Sorry, I keep hitting, you can see, I'm in a weird situation, a weird location. I'm back in New Mexico for the holidays with my folks. And so this is like my old tiny house. And it's a little bit of a weird setup because the lights in here are strange and stuff. So anyway, not to totally get derailed. And then the last card is the Deva of Order and Chaos. I love this card. I love it so much because it's almost, I love that it's like, okay, so even though this one is blue and this one is yellow, you can see kind of this sort of reddish orange in the corners. Order and chaos, this is fire. When you go into the hottest part of a fire, this is where you get the deeper reds and the blue of that, that, like I said, the deepest, hottest, most intense heat of the flame. And so what looks like chaos is order. Understand that chaos and order are two sides of the same energies, so that even when chaos is happening around you, understand that it's like the Tower card, you know, in the tarot. It's that sometimes you got to dismantle a whole bunch of stuff in order to rebuild anew. And that is what is kind of happening here. So this is really about how we respond to the chaos that's happening in the world. That part of it is understanding that there is some kind of purpose to what looks like only chaos and destruction around us. You know, I'm not going to say I don't care what your political proclivities are, but I will say that, you know, we're finding ourselves in a moment, in a cultural moment that, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think we would be having if Hillary Clinton was the president of the United States. And this cultural moment is this whole Me Too situation with all of the, I mean, we are like globally purging the wounds of sexual abuse. And it's happening, you know, at the most obvious level. It's happening kind of in the first world, because we also know that in other like non-Western parts of the world, Southern Hemisphere, some of these places that have been historically configured as being, you know, kind of adjacent or opposite, or like opposed to the West and the North, that it's been happening there for a long time. And it's like, you know, all of this energy that it's happening in the dominant discourse is something that could only really have taken place because of what the current political climate is. It's you know, for, like I said, for whatever you think about the outcome of this last U.S. election, there is a ton of purging going on. And like I said, I don't really feel like it would be possible with had the results gone a different direction. Which is how I help myself to feel like, okay, this is all chaos, but ultimately, you know, okay, there are some, I'm trying to find what good is coming of the current situation. Because otherwise we just, you know, kind of succumb to anger and despair, and that's not a place that's very productive to be. Okay. All right, so now with that, let's go ahead and move on to the energy update for our partnerships. And this is going to be very much sort of the core spread that I usually use. So if you're just joining me, the way I do this is the first side has to do with, you know, us who are engaged with the video. This is, you know, the energies that we're currently sitting in, what's drawing us into alignment with that, like, high vibrational, unconditional love, and what's drawing us out, what did I say? Drawing us out of alignment and drawing us into alignment with it. Then I do the same thing for the partner that you are, you know, the person of concern for you. And then we'll close this section with the current energy sort of surrounding the partnership itself. Okay, so the current energies surrounding those of us engaging with this video. In this deck, oh, this is the Marguerite Peterson Tarot. And usually I put this in the comments. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this is actually, this is her version of the Temperance card. I love this, and my goodness. So sun, moon, rainbow. Temperance is about balance, and this is actually about moving through a new gateway into balance. The rainbow is, they create arches, okay? And so the rainbow is creating this archway for people to be passing through right now. And this is, you know, so for us, this is having us come into balance and then enact that balance into the world. It's moving, it's passing that internal temperance, that internal balance from the internal into the external, okay? Or outward to the external, as an external in the world expression. Okay, so that's God, this is turning out to be even more coherent than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, this is The energy surrounding us at the moment is temperance. It's about, balancing out our own inner shadow with our light, and understanding that only through the contrast of the darkness can we see our light. Only having gone through a dark night of the soul can we reemerge into the daylight stronger and better than we were before. Okay. And understand that that's, everybody's kind of going through that at the moment. And our acknowledgement and respect for people being at various points on this side, is going to be the thing that helps us remain peaceful and peaceful as we continue moving through the world. Okay. The energy pulling us out of alignment, and I'm laughing because there's something very similar on the counterpart side, is the Chariotess. Chariotess. All right. So she's the lady chariot driver. But this is the chariot card, obviously, but drawing us out of alignment is wanting to move too fast, too soon. It's, wanting to be at the finish line, wanting to be at the top of the mountain. And the thing is, the top of the mountain is only satisfying because you climbed the whole thing. So this is a reminder to you that what draws you out of alignment is some impatience about wanting to, kind of skip important parts of the path. Okay. You gotta walk the entire trail, right? It's like, for, I don't know, well, there are a couple of these. So one I'm thinking about is the Appalachian Trail in the eastern United States. And then also, I think they call it Le Jog in the UK, which is basically, it's like sort of the end to end. It's a really long, long trail. And the thing that makes it impressive is if you do the whole thing, right? It doesn't do you any good if like, I did start, if in the case of the Appalachian Trail, I did start in Georgia, I think is where it begins. Yeah, I started in Georgia, but then I took a whole ride through Tennessee, and it's like, you gotta do the whole thing. Okay. So, in order for that to really sort of count, if that makes sense. All right. And then on the other hand, drawing us into alignment is the Hierophant. This is so fascinating to me. Look at how fiery this card is. I love this woman's artwork, and I love how it just really sometimes takes a real turn and offers a totally new configuration of sort of the base energy of these cards. So the Hierophant usually it can be a very suffocating energy around spirituality. It's like it can be like the dogma of organized religion. Okay. And like I said, the dogma of it can feel very suffocating, but what draws you into alignment, what's being shown here is this fire. And this is about having the confidence to follow a spiritual path without a map. Okay. This is your personal fire. This is, but it's also discipline. So this is about finding your own way to be disciplined on a path that has kind of no map to it. And so what I mean by this, let me see if I can, okay. In my own experience, I pedaled a bicycle from Washington, D.C. to Iowa. This was several years ago. And, our intention was to go from Washington, D.C. to Seattle, and that was going to be very exciting. But we didn't really we had maps and we knew vaguely which direction we were going. But on a day-to-day basis, sometimes it was like, navigating cities on bicycles was kind of, it wasn't easy to do. And stuff that looked like on a map to be like a straight line turned into like a whole ordeal for the day, right? So what I mean so the reason I'm bringing this up is that, we had an idea of where we were trying to get to. We had and frankly, we all ended up, our endpoints were in different places. My endpoint was in Iowa. My companion's endpoint was I think it was in Minnesota or possibly Wisconsin. I don't know. We split up. Okay, when we got to Indiana, it became clear to me that I needed to do a section of the journey by myself. I rode across Illinois by myself, and it was amazing. But none of us knew that was going to happen. But the thing was, we had to get up every day and pedal. That's the discipline. Get up every day and pedal. Get up. If for you, your discipline needs to be, this is like ritualized discipline. If it needs to be, get up and meditate for 7 minutes, do your 7-minute meditation. If it's that you end the day with that, if it's that you write, I think it's Julia Cameron, her book, The Artist's Way, she talks about morning pages. If you just got to write 3 pages of whatever before you get going on the day, carve out the space for that. Be very disciplined about your spiritual work, whatever that means for you. Okay. And you know what? If for me, this has been coming up in my Facebook memories a lot this week, or in the last couple weeks, is when I lived in Iowa, it was kitchen dance parties. Solo kitchen dance parties with my dog were my spiritual practice. And and so if that's how you decide to use, this, or to enact this music card from the self-care, do it. Do whatever you need to do, but make it a priority. Make it a routine. Not routines to the point where you take it for granted, but I mean, there still needs to be intentionality to it. There needs to be discipline, where even so that you even do it when you kind of don't feel like it, when you're like, no, you're commit to it and do it even, and like I say, even when you don't feel like it, but especially when you don't feel like it, because that is the time when you are most likely to get dragged out of alignment with this thing, with this high love, this cosmic higher consciousness energy that that you want so much. Okay. All right. Now moving on to the counterparts side. This is so funny. So the energy currently surrounding them is the Four of Feathers. This is like the Four of Swords in a traditional tarot deck, and I'm laughing a little bit because of how much it is mirroring the How to Be This in the World card, this Deva of the Moon. This is, for them, this is about being at rest. Okay, they have to be in a state, they are going through a dark night of the soul of their own. You are not meant to walk with them for portions of that path. I mean, to do the dark night of the soul, it really is, this is like the Hermit card. You gotta be totally alone with your own stuff, right? You can't, and even if as a person kind of being alone with your own stuff, you've decided to seek out traditional counseling, talk therapy, yes, there's the time in session with the therapist, but then ultimately you have to come home and do the work on your own. That is what your counterpart is doing right now. I like also that this is feathers. These are this is, as far as you're concerned, this is about trusting that they've got their own set of guides who are helping them and guiding them. You are not that person for them, or you are not that force for them at the moment. Okay, without totally bird walking, I'm just going to leave it there. They have their own guides. The universe is speaking to them in a lot of different ways, and for the time being, it's for them to do without you. Okay, and even if understand too, you're still an influence. You still have energetic influence, but the actual 3D in their face, talking it through with them is not. This is not the time. Okay, so that's a little bit of the kind of shine your light, be the warmth, be the lighthouse, and understand while understanding and respecting that other people would need to if they're going to look at this their own shadow. I love that it's a face, like it's a real obvious face. Know that they need like a little bit of a boundary around them to do it. Okay, allow it, respect it. Recount a time when you have been in your own dark night of the soul. You could only do that work by yourself. Allow the other person the space to do the same. Okay, drawing them out of alignment with their source, higher consciousness connection. to unconditional love is the Eight of Flames. This is like the Eight of Wands in a traditional deck. This might be kind of hard to see. There's a jaguar kind of in this image, and then here's this other person. But you know, the Eight of Wands energy is fast moving. Okay, it's a really, really fast moving energy, like flash in the pan kind. And the reason why I laughed when I saw these two, when I pulled all these out, and I was like, oh, look at that, is because the thing that is drawing both partners out of alignment, you know, these entangled pairs, is the desire to go faster than what the universe has planned. Okay, so again, trust the timing of it all. Allow for everyone to be going at their own pace. This could be, you know, in the same way that it's like what I said at the beginning around praise. I have a very small table that I'm working with. You know, give yourself credit for how far you've come and don't get so down on yourself. This energy is, you know, this wanting to be there already is that kind of low, draggy energy around not giving yourself credit or just being mad that you're not where you want to be yet. Okay. So, yeah, the two partners are experiencing the same forces, you know. That's why they wanted me, because I couldn't see this in the screen. So you can see this figure, they have an arrow. And part of it is Sagittarius energy. I mean, you could okay, now I'm really laughing. So I'm a Sagittarius, but also Sagittarius energy, it's, you know, we're like the philosophers, and we're the adventure free spirits of the zodiac. And it also means that sometimes we, as evidenced by my recent hiatus, we will often allow ourselves to get pulled completely away from things. And so like we're impatient and we get distracted, and it's like sometimes it can be really difficult to get a Sagittarius to kind of sit down and do the work. Okay. So that energy is what's kind of pulling them out of alignment with frankly, with doing, God, I keep on losing cards, with doing this kind of resting, be still stuff. Okay. I mean, look at how opposed, oh gosh, wow, look at that. So here it's like be whole. They're trying to find a wholeness. They're trying to connect with wholeness, and they can only do that by being still and being, you know, like kind of being their own gravitational force. And then like aesthetically at odds with this, aesthetically and energetically at odds with that is this. It's a square. First of all, it's a square. It's moving too fast. It's moving. It's all of this fire, and it's like, no, just be still. Be in the water. Okay, it's okay. That's fascinating. I love when that happens. Okay, now drawing them into alignment, they have the world. This is great. This is about them understand. It's like they're remaking their world. It's the way that they understand that the world is available to them. You know, if you're going through a dark night of the soul, it's a retreat from the world. It is in some ways, it's like a disillusionment and a loss of hope and despair with the world. And so by allowing themselves to go into this space, and by you giving them the space to do it as well, excuse me, respecting that they need to be there, only through that do they like have access to, that they can rediscover the world on their own, that they can re-embrace the world and their place in it. I love how, gosh, oh, this artwork, it's so amazing. Okay, so right up here is a skeleton. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try to stop moving. Okay, so there's a skeleton kind of up here, and it's, gosh, it's almost like the death card, only without the, like, so when the death card comes up, it would be kind of the, you're going through the transition right now, you know. The world card is the emergence afterward. So here is this old self, the discarding of all of that old energy, all the old habits of behavior, thought, and mind and spirit that they're like, wow, I'm not that person anymore. And they reemerge anew. And I like too the way that this, like these white streaks here almost feel like bursts of light. It's like they rediscover their own light, they embrace their own light, and then they're able to they understand that they're meant to shine that way in the world. So that is what's drawing them into alignment. I mean, it's basically like, yeah, it's when they choose drawing themselves into alignment with this higher consciousness is when they choose and understand and realize that it's there for them and that they're supposed to. Okay, so, ooh, gosh, man, that is powerful. Good for them. Wow. Okay, so to recap, we do have one more card left, but to recap, the self-care that we're meant to do this week is to kind of set our mission statement. I love it. Okay. Is to kind of write our mission statement, get clear with ourselves about what it is that we're trying to accomplish for this current emerging chapter that we're in. And what I also, and from there, I want to go to that we are meant to be taking what we have achieved in terms of balance and being disciplined about it in the world. The mission statement and the discipline, you can't have one without the other, or it's meaningless. It doesn't have staying power if it's not rooted in, your mission, your personal mission. What's drawing everybody out of alignment is wanting to go too fast, not respecting that these sacred spaces we create for ourselves and that we need in order to go through this sort of soul contemplation. We need that. Everybody needs that. So, this is the space that some of us are in now, or that some of our loved ones are in now. And what draws us out of alignment is the desire to go too fast, to become impatient with the process. And so with all of that, what I think is so beautiful and wonderful is that our portable wisdom for the week, this comes from the Cornwall Garden Oracle, and this was another interesting deck that didn't actually have a whole lot of packaging with it. So I just love little indie things like this. So this is the image, and it is the spirit of the stream. And this is movement. The keywords are movement and transition. Things are moving. Even if we're having to be apart, even if we are, allowing people around us to kind of go through the stuff they need to go through, even as we are kind of allowing kind of a lot of other people the space to be in chaos and understanding that there's order to it. This is reminding us that in order for all of this to move and transit and flow, the spirit of the stream, we have to allow ourselves to be in the flow. You can't go faster than the stream unless you're paddling. And if you're paddling, then you still, you're going to need a whole bunch of extra water. Whereas if you're just in the stream, you can kind of float along and let the stream take you where it's meant to take you. There's a little bit more verbiage here. It says, possibilities opening up, the move from one place to another will go smoothly. Sweet golden times lie ahead. Warmth, security, and peace. Okay, so that's, warmth, the security of having being disciplined, but not constrained. It is the warmth of being, here it is, being this kind of magnifier of abundance in the world. Okay, and what I want to talk about, this is interesting. So I went to, in the time that I was off YouTube, I ended up actually going to Europe twice, and on one of the trips, I don't think she'll mind me sharing this. I'm not going to say her name or anything. I met with a client, and we We went to a couple of exhibits as part of our sort of time together, and what I observed, like twice, we had two interactions with people who were like not just the two of us. It was like we were interacting at a restaurant and then another time in an exhibit. And it was the darndest thing. So when we went to the restaurant, the what do you call it? They were hesitant about seating us, and and it was like, I didn't really care one way or another. It was like, yeah, it'd be nice to sit down, but I was also already a little bit concerned about, I could tell that it was going to be a little pricey, and probably a little more pricier than either one of us were really super comfortable spending on lunch that day. And so I was like, oh, good. There's no, like, good. We're kind of off the hook. This is the universe kind of confirming that this is not the place we need to eat today. But it was like her reaction was, as soon as she felt the resistance, she decided she wanted to push on it. You know, it's almost like if you've ever, like I have a dog, oh, no, this is Rocky. This is my dog who passed away in January. He was a dog who, he was very easygoing and didn't really care, but if you put a leash on him, he was going to pull on it, you know? And it was like, as soon as I feel a constraint, I'm going to push back on it. And it was like that oppositional energy. So that was like one instance. And then later in the day, we were at an exhibit, and I just wanted to kind of, like, there was a big crowd. So I was like, well, I don't really want to wait in this line. Let's kind of go around and see if there's another way in, or like another way to experience this exhibit. So we found actually the exit, and it was like, oh, well, people are kind of slow trickling out of this door. Let's just peek our heads in. And I thought we were just going to peek our heads in, but she decided to kind of basically be salmon and kind of really, she was going to experience the entire exhibit going against the flow of traffic. And what I just thought, I was like, oh, well, isn't this interesting? I just pointed it out to her, like, isn't this interesting that that rather than, you know, kind of, I mean, there were ways that there were openings for us, like the door being open, and so we could peek our heads in and kind of look at whatever it was and have that experience. Obviously not the way it was intended, but could still have the experience. Like, I was content there, but she needed, like, she felt compelled and pulled to fight all that traffic and to keep fighting it and keep fighting it and keep fighting it. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting that it was like this way that it was brought to her vision, her consciousness. Like, look at the ways that you know, that you kind of fight against the flow. And it's very much that, it's like, it's that chariot energy, and the, you know, the chariot energy and the Eight of Flames energy that's pulling everybody out of alignment, is that everybody wanting to go either too fast, the wrong direction. It's about not being in the flow of the stream. And so this whole week, this portable wisdom for the week is be in the flow of it. Be, you know, you can, you know, even in the midst of all of this chaos that's going on around us, you know, at whether that's at the personal level, the public level, understanding like, well, there's some kind of order to this, so let me kind of see where this takes me. Let me insist on connecting to the lightness, connecting to the abundance of what's here, and like tapping into whatever the order, the underlying order is, to sort of mitigate the chaotic, you know, that really hard energy of chaos that's difficult to sit with a lot of times. So yeah, it's how funny that this would come up right now. Also, I have my camera sitting on a pile of books because I don't have my tripod or any of my usual stuff. I didn't actually even know that I was going to be doing this while I was here. But I just so happened that I kind of had a bunch of decks with me. One of the books that this is sitting on is called Oceans Connect, and it's a, I'm sure it's a geography book. But it reminds me, so I'm seeing this word, and what it reminds me of is this time, this would have been about May 2015, I had attended a seminar on decoloniality, specifically in the context of the Philippines. That's part of my heritage. And it was, what was really great was this, one of the keynote speakers was a Jesuit priest. And it was, a portion of this was about getting out of the dichotomies, those oppositional thinkings about, like, yes, the church, capital T, capital C, had a big hand in colonizing and coloniality, but now at this late date, how do we get out of the oppositional thinking and still find what's useful here? When people come into contact, there can be a purpose to that. Obviously, lower vibrational ways of doing that come with a lot of violence. But one of the things that he said, so like I said, the part of the conference was about, like, how do you kind of get out of that oppositional thinking, and it was actually about way more than this religious piece. But this one key speaker said, he was talking about the Philippines as an archipelago. It's like over 7,000 islands, and yet one nation, right? And he said, we're coming to this island consciousness, right? That we are islands on the surface, but connected in the deep. So underneath the ocean, once you go underneath, all of the stormy seas and all of this, the emotional stuff that seems like it separates us, that, can create friction. Sorry. This is part of that ocean card, or yeah, from before, that underneath all of that, that this land is still all connected. Those islands are connected to each other underneath the surface of the ocean, where we can't totally see it, but we know it. We know it. And that's where it would be good for us to be now, that in that deep knowing. When I talk about deep knowing, what I'm talking about is ocean depth, all right? Like what is it? The Marianas Trench depth, all right? Because even as deep as all of that stuff goes, even if we can't see all the way to the bottom, we'd still know it's one planet, and that there's, there might be different layers and different coverings, but ultimately it's all one entity. Okay, it's all one being. No, they're like, not being. There's too much stuff that comes with that. But yes, we are all connected in a way that is very singular, that's very unified. Okay, so again, just to recap, as far as like this water energy, this being connected in the deep, this and that, oh wow, and that only in our own personal depths can we find we reconnect with ourselves, we reconnect with higher universal consciousness. And wow, that felt really good. That, like, I can feel all that right now. So I think I need to leave it there. And reminders, wow, you guys, I'm so glad to be back. And reminders again, I'd love to connect with you if you want a pre-recorded reading. That's the PayPal links. And if you would like to schedule a live session with me, those are the, I think it might be ACAS me links. I think it shortens in a weird way. But anyway, links down below, labeled appropriately. And so glad to be with you again. Thanks so much for joining you, and I will see you again very, very soon. Oh my God, I was going to see you sooner than I thought, because I just realized I forgot to read one of the cards in the energy update between the partners. So the energy dynamic between the partners, oops, is the Wheel of Life. And again, wow, look at this. It's almost like, well, it's more of the same stuff. Look at all the roundness going on here. This is wholeness. So the energy happening between the partners at the moment, so sorry guys, I'm kind of laughing at myself, is one of round. It's not about being round. It's about, well, Thanksgiving in the US, so maybe. It's about things coming around again. And this is about the spiral. So, if you look at a spiral, it's basically concentric, right? Like it has a gravity to it where it flows from around a central point, But every time it comes back around again, it's in a different place. So it has a different vantage point to that center. And that's what this wheel of life is really talking about. It's the, I think in some cases this could be like the wheel of the year, all right? And so this is sort of the yearly cycle. It is about take an inventory of where you are, how you've gotten, how far you've come in the past year, or so far this year. I mean, we're basically at the end of the year. So, but also look at the ways that, every time you kind of come back around again, every time you come back around again to the next season, it's different, but it's the same season, right? But it's different, and you are different. So it's that difference in, what do you call it? It's like difference in its consistency. It's like the constant change, but also the constant root, the constant center. So the energy between the partners at the moment is one of, as much as there might be all this circling going on, they're on the same circle. They're on the same path. This is all sort of part of one sort of wholeness. Okay. Wow. All right. So now that will be it for this week. All right. See you next time.